Hello, my panda pals, and welcome back to the channel. Today is part 1 of 90 Day Fiancé, Season 11, Episode 3. So let's get right into it. Let's check in with Sarper and Shekinah. Nothing really happens with these two, so this is gonna be really quick. Fasoon just tells Shekinah that everyone is pretty nervous about Sarper going to the US because they get into some blowout fights, and if she decides to kick him out, then where the heck is he gonna go? And Shekinah is like, oh, Fasoon, I'll make sure to introduce him to all of my friends so that he has a couch he can crash on from time to time. And Fasoon is like, how about no?
I think she's still feeling that he will visit her home rather than they're going to live in the same house together.
And then Shekinah tells Sarper that everyone is overreacting and he really needs to cut the umbilical cord because he is a grown-ass adult man and him wanting to be there to take care of his parents in their old age is way too extra.
Sometimes it is difficult for her to understand the relationship with my family. She kind of has different cultures, the family relationship so different than ours.
Now, I, like Sarper, come from a culture that emphasizes filial piety, and I also have a very good relationship with my parents, so I do understand why this move is so difficult for him, and it's honestly really annoying that Shekinah is basically responding to all of this with, ugh, man up. Moving on to Greg and Joan. Joan is coming to Long Island today, and Greg's mother is like, I really want to die never knowing what it sounds like when my son has an orgasm. So could you guys please sleep in separate rooms? And Greg is like, LOL, no.
You know, I'm not used to you having a woman in your bed with you.
You want to hear the bed rocking or anything like that?
Yeah,
Any creaks in the floor?
I just don't want to hear it. It's not my business.
Then his mom is like, I know they're gonna want to be intimate together and satisfy their urges, but you know, I really hope he doesn't forget about dear old mom.
When they're together here, they want to do what they want as the urge strikes. But I hope they still want to, you know, have me around in their life.
Which, having those two thoughts in the same sentence is really weird to me. Greg heads out with a loaf of sourdough bread that he made with Joan's name scored onto it, and he looks so silly, but I do think that this is a very cute gesture.
I want you and only you. I want you and only you.
Greg is on cloud 9, but behind his smile, he is drowning in insecurity.
I just worry about, being enough for her and this life being enough for her.
In the car, Greg tells Joan about how his mother wants them to sleep in separate beds because she doesn't want to hear them banging it out. And Joan is like, LOL, no.
Maybe you want to sleep in like a separate room.
I'm not sleeping in a separate room.
Maybe we can compromise on something with my mom.
So Greg is like, okay, well, would you be okay with us leaving the door open? Which, I understand the need for compromise, but leaving the door open? Like, what are we, in high school? Joan starts to cry because everything is really starting to hit her. She was a successful independent woman in Uganda, and she gave all that up to live with her fiancé who doesn't have a stable source of income in his mother's home where she can't close her bedroom door for any amount of privacy.
In Uganda, I had a life. In America, I'm a nobody, have nothing to do. I have to just sit home. It's really hard.
They get home and Joan finally meets Lucille. They have some small talk. How was your trip? It was long. You're so pretty. Blah, blah, blah.
Joan seems very shy and very clingy with Gregory.
Ma'am, she is in a new country where Gregory is the only person she knows. Calm your titties. Greg takes Joan upstairs and he makes me hate him. He's like, I know my room could be cleaner. As if he didn't have all the time in the world with his mother doing all of the domestic labor and him not having to go to a 9-to-5 job that he works 5 days a week.
Obviously, you can have either side. We're going to have to clear this out. Maybe you can help me.
I'm so sorry. She traveled over 16 hours, leaving her friends, her family, her successful job, to live with you in your mother's house where she does like 90% of all of the housework, and you couldn't find the time or the energy to clean up 2 square feet of closet space? Joan hops in the shower, and Greg goes to talk to his mom and tell her that Joan did not like the idea of sleeping in separate rooms, and then he starts to cry.
Talked to her about sleeping in separate rooms. I mean, she was really upset. She is afraid of the dark, and she came here to be with me,
They eventually agree to leave the door open, and he promises that they will respect her 100%, and his mother definitely isn't happy, but her little baby boy just cried, so she's doing her best to be okay with it. Let's check in with Mahdi and Stevi. The two wake up in New Orleans and Stevie is like, ugh, I am not feeling that great. And Mahdi is like, well, could you feel better? Because I hear it costs your firstborn child to get any kind of medical help in America.
You can't get sick. I've heard it's very expensive to go see a doctor.
You heard right, Mahdi. You heard right. He hasn't even put on a shirt yet, and Stevie brings up the fact that last night he mentioned possibly going back home one day in the future, and she's like, so you're already having doubts about us, and that's not okay with me.
I said it without even thinking about it.
That would mean that you shouldn't have made this decision to begin with.
Stevie needs to let this go. Like, I understand that she's feeling insecure about Mahdi leaving her, but he left his family for the first time in his entire life. He thinks that he may never see them again. He is experiencing culture shock. Like, stop scolding him for feeling homesick?
If you're having regrets already, we're not going to get through 90 days or our entire life. I mean, like...
I do not like the way that she is handling things right now because she is being very self-centered, in my opinion.
You don't go into something if you're like, have doubts that you might possibly not want it later.
Yes, you do! It's called taking a risk. Have you never done that before? People do scary things all the time, and they will often second guess whether they made the right decision or not, but they keep going because to them, the risk is worth it. Mahdi is like, I chose you, okay? You are more important to me than my parents. And that is not good enough for Stevie.
I have never been away from my family my whole life. I miss them already. I'm just regretting that I asked her.
See, this is why Stevie should have responded with compassion and reassurance and not ultimatums. Now, Mahdi's gonna think that whenever he expresses doubt or any difficult emotions, it's going to be met with conflict, and he's probably going to be more selective about the things that he tells her from now on.
I miss my parents.
I think right now it's just hard. Maybe it'll get easier.
Yeah, it should have started with that and then ended with that.
It's also really scary when someone says, like, if it's not enough, then they'll go back.
So Stevie thinks that Mahdi is basically saying, if you don't prove that you are enough for me, then I am going to go back to Iran. Which obviously is not what he said, but it does explain why Stevie is freaking out so much.
It's a lot of pressure knowing that I have to kind of fulfill all the voids that he has from leaving.
The two head out to explore, and Mahdi tries his very first beignet, and it blows his freaking mind.
I really hope that all American snack and food do not taste and feel like beignet because I think I'm gonna gain so much weight.
Bro, we put sugar in everything. Mahdi is like, man, America is so crazy free.
Watching Maddie walk around New Orleans is like when you bring a kid to Disneyland and they're like overstimulated.
And then he tries to find the right words to compare it to with Iran, but he does stop himself because he doesn't want to say the wrong thing. And the producers off camera are like, no, you can say whatever you want, bro. We got freedom of speech here. And Mahdi is like, LOL, I am not stupid. I know how the internet works.
You can speak freely here. You're an American.
I know, but I'm worried about my family. It just goes back to the politics stuff.
So he simply leaves it at, it feels like I took my sunglasses off when I came into America. And that, my Panda Pals, is all I have for you today. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, go ahead, click that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this one. I hope to see you for the next one, and as always, thanks for not letting me ride this train wreck alone. Bye!